Okay. So in our last interview, the questions they asked, I guess, were kind of broad. So this is where we get like a little more specific into them. And I already started writing my paper. What I did is I went to the writing center at my school, and we created like a an outline, and then from there I developed some more questions I have to ask you. But so the first thing is when we were talking about like the communities you email to and you write to, it was mainly like your business partners and staff. Um, do you ever email clients ever?
Yes, I will email clients. I just emailed a client yesterday.
What do you usually talk about when you email a client? Is it more like an
Well,
issue?
when I get involved with a client, right, there's two things. So there are clients that will, if they have a challenge, if there's an issue, right, a
Yeah.
complaint, and it escalates all the way up to my level, then I'll typically speak with them on the phone, and then I'll follow that up with an email that kind
Okay.
of either apologizes for something that we've done, as well as puts in writing what I've agreed to do for them, right? So they have something from me in writing. So, um, and the other reason I would email a client would be that's a very very good client of ours. You know, somebody that books a lot of cruises or a lot of expensive vacations with us. Um, I'll touch base with them.
Okay. That makes sense. When you email cruise lines, what do you typically talk about? You mentioned that you use more like if you email a cruise line, you'll use more of a persuasive tone. In our last interview, you said that, and I was just trying to more like elaborate on that. Like, what do you try to persuade with or for?
Right. Well, normally when I talk to the I guess the majority of the calls has to do with negotiating some type of a rate for a series of cruises.
For like
In our business,
for the packages, right?
we package a cruise with the hotels, and so my job is to keep our costs as low as possible, so that we can offer a price as low as possible to our clients. Right.
That's fun. I started writing the paper, and I wasn't too sure. So like when I'm not sure on something, I'll fill in what I think I know, and then after this interview, I'm gonna go back and correct it. And I actually that's literally what I put was it's because you do packages and you try to keep the prices low for all that. But that was just like a guess.
Yeah.
So
No, so that's really the main reason. Even today, I was on the phone with them trying to get lower prices
do
for
you
cruises. So the other reason I would talk to cruise lines would be to again negotiate the contract terms.
yeah
Um, so again, a lot of the conversations with cruise lines is negotiating something. So it's either the prices of a cruise for a package, or it's a contract that, or it's to get additional money for marketing.
okay
So if we're gonna, do a new marketing program through TravelZoo or through a newspaper or through direct mail, and I need money, I'll call a cruise line and say, "Hey, I'd love for you to give me some money so we can market this."
okay um and do you kind of follow up with like an email like you do with clients? Like after your phone call, you'll follow up with an email too.
Always,
Okay.
always, always.
Okay, and then now getting away from the whole communities, um, when I mentioned texting and it being a form of writing, you said that you don't really consider it a form of writing. Why is that?
Well,
Because if it's in a, because
you,
of how
you made me
informal.
change my mind. I mean, it is definitely a way to communicate, and and even when I text, and it's funny, so you get personal texts from me, and if you ever look at my personal text, right, my grammar is usually I spell words out completely, I use commas, I use proper capitalization, right? So even when I text, it has some structure of writing to it that I'm comfortable with, like writing a letter and trying to keep it correct. Um, but I would agree with you that texting, there's no question. I text employees, I text cruise line partners. I don't ever text a client, but the people that we work with at the cruise lines and my employees, I text all the time. So I mean, I'd have to agree that texting is a form of writing.
Well, before I mentioned it though, how come you didn't consider it one? Like, was it because of how informal it is?
No question. I think because it's informal, and I think, um, when I think of writing, I think about communicating an entire thought. And normally with texting, it takes so long to text an entire thought that it's just too brief. I guess the brevity of it. So I guess the brevity and the informality would be the two things that it just didn't seem like it was writing to me. But there's no question it's communicating.
Okay. Well, because about my paper, I'm kind of going on more how you, because when you first said it wasn't and you didn't really consider it, that's what I'm kind of going on. But do you think it had when you didn't consider it? Do you think when you're growing up, how you wrote letters and things, and there wasn't technology all around? Do you think now that you've been like thrown into texting, that's kind of a reason why? Because you're used to the whole really formal letter type of deal.
And you
That makes
think,
sense.
you're asking me, do I think that's the reason why I didn't think that texting was really a form of writing?
Yeah, do you think that plays a part?
Yeah, no question about it. I think anybody from my generation would probably feel pretty similarly. Like tweeting, I guess tweeting is writing. I guess.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
social networking.
But I wouldn't really think that was writing either. So yes, I think it has to do with the type of writing that we grew up with.
Okay, okay, and then going to your growing up, when you were younger, did you ever have a problem with writing? Um, More so right now on your letters. Like if you're focusing on like when you wrote letters to your pen pal, did you ever find it difficult to write at all?
Um, I think I always enjoyed writing, even when, as far back as I can remember, really, as just a young kid. I think that has a lot to do with, again, how you're brought up, right? I mean, writing was a big thing, and creative writing was something that I would do at home. That was something that grandma, right, my
Yeah.
mom would encourage me to do, and she was very what's the word? Very very supportive, very complimentary, very right. She would say, "Oh, what a good writer you are." And so yeah, I used to like writing. Used to like writing creative stories, short stories from as far back as 7, 8, 9 years old.
So you liked like the whole artistic feel of it, the freedom of writing, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I did. I like the thought of telling stories, which is completely different than the writing that I do now. More of a business writing, very succinct and
Yeah.
very structured. Creative writing was just fun. I mean, it's just fun making up a story, and I enjoyed that.
All right. Now moving away from like the letters with the when you're growing up with school, was writing in that atmosphere difficult at all? For like more an academic level of writing, was that ever a problem?
Um,
If you can't think about growing up like high school or whatever you remember the most.
Yeah, the writing wasn't. I remember it was difficult for me. What's the word I'm looking for? Not grammar, but the
The
sentence
structure?
The structure, right? The
Yeah.
adverbs and the prepositions and the right. That I always found kind of difficult. I remember being tested on that. I never really enjoyed that. So even though I liked creative writing. I would say that my teachers would consistently, have some red marks on the paper because it wasn't structured. The sentence wasn't structured perhaps properly.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I kind of have a problem with that as well. That's like how I like word my sentences gets jumbled a little bit. Okay, now more on to the lingo. We talked about um, CPL and CPC. Do you know any other like lingo you guys use? Like any more abbreviations? You don't have to have a bunch, just like a few more.
there's a few, right? PPC, which is pay per click. Um,
Hold up. The community, like, I can't hear you.
PPC.
Yeah, there you go. The mic went out.
Okay. PPC, pay per click. It's also called search marketing. SEO
Okay.
stands for search engine optimization. On a ship, there's things that we discuss with clients like port, starboard, forward, and aft. When you talk about like
Boats.
where their room is going to be on a ship, it's going to be in the front or the back or the left or the right. So we use the correct C word or C word terms. On a ship, tendering. When you if the ship is too big to get into a pier in a port, they have to anchor off the pier, and then you have to take the little tenders to get to
Okay.
right? So that would be a word, tendering, which is kind of different. But even on a ship, talking with clients about an inside cabin or an ocean view cabin or a balcony cabin, what does that mean? If you're new to the industry, what's an inside cabin? What is that? And so, those would be kind of new to the industry. Port charges, those are things that we have to explain to clients a lot, what those are.
What was it?
Huh?
What was it? What'd you say? Port?
Port charges. It's really a government tax that
Oh, okay.
will charge the cruise lines, and the cruise lines then pass those charges or taxes on to the client.
Are they like
So you have
huge
to explain-
taxes?
I'm sorry?
Are they like a large amount of taxes, or is it just kind of a little amount?
The port charges are pretty significant. It's really about, on a 7-day cruise, typically $200 to $300.
Wow.
It's built into the price of the cruise, but we have to explain it when we give the customer the invoice, their bill.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
That's a lot
I
of
don't know.
money.
Is that enough terms? And that's
No, yeah, that's fine. With I guess more of because I know you use like the port, starboard, and all that for directional terms. But with CPC, CPL, and things like that, what do those help with when you when you're emailing and you use those use that terminology? What does that help with? Does it help just shorten up communication? What's the
it does.
significance
I mean,
of it? I guess.
right. It's quicker to type. It's quicker to write. PPC, pay per click, instead of writing that out. Right. PPC is quick.
Yeah.
It's quicker to say, quicker to type. So yes, I think it's abbreviations to make it quicker to type and quicker to even talk about. So talking or writing, the abbreviations are very helpful.
And those abbreviations, all the three of them, the CPC, CPL, and the what's the other one?
PPC and SEO.
PPC. Do those all go with Google? With the advertising on Google you do?
Yeah, they would all relate to online marketing. Yeah. So not necessarily just Google, right? So we do advertising on Bing or Yahoo
Oh,
or
okay.
Facebook or and all of those online advertising vehicles have those terms: pay per click, cost per lead, cost per conversion. I forgot that one. CP, that's a big one.
And what does CPS mean? What is cost per?
Well, CPC is actually cost per click.
Yeah, you can just define define CPC for me.
Cost per click. So you go to Google and you are getting ready to plan a cruise to Alaska. So you type in Alaska cruise in Google, and all of a sudden the ads will come up at the top of your search results, and one of those ads will be our company, which will be alaskacruises.com. And you will see that ad and you will click on it. So when you click on it, there is a cost for your click. So it's a cost per click. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is it
Every time somebody clicks on that ad, it might cost 70 cents, it might cost $1.50, it might cost $3.
Oh wow.
But it's pretty significant.
So, okay. You know how when you type in something on Google, it comes up like the search results, and then there's that one at the top that says advertised, Is that the one that you'd fall under?
That's the one. We'd fall under both. So the advertisements always come up on the top, at least on Google. You have 3 ads that come up to the top, and you have 8 ads that come up on the side, on the right-hand side. Those are all paid. So we could come up anywhere on there.
Okay.
The results before, which is another term that we use, which is organic. Right below the paid ads would be organic. And organic, those are the search results that Google decides are the best search results to bring back. So as a consumer, you always kind of want to look at the organic. And organic is great because there's no cost to that. So if our website, Alaska Cruises, which it does, comes back very high in the organic search results, we don't pay for that click. But on the advertisements, there's a cost per click.
Okay, I get it.
Right?
And then, okay, now moving away from lingo. You mentioned you make agendas, and that's like another form of writing you do for work. For meetings, you make agendas, so they're structured. Well, first off, how do you structure them when you write them? Is there like a format you use kind of in your head when you make them?
I do. I kind of use Roman numerals and then letters for my kind of like an outline, right? I don't know if
Okay, I have
how to do outlines, but so
something like this. If you can read that.
Outlines, but that's funny. That's exactly what I do. So I have a Roman numeral. So I have a title that I center in the top.
Yeah.
I have a date. That I put underneath the title, and then I have a Roman numeral 1. And if I have a subtopic, then I'll indent and I'll use A and B and C, and then I'll go to topic 2.
Okay.
A, topic 3. That's how I do my agendas.
Perfect. Okay, and then what do they help you accomplish? I'm guessing they help you just make sure the meeting is organized and runs fluently. Okay, that's what kind of the point of an agenda is. How many do you typically write in a week? If you know.
How many agendas?
Yeah, do you do like 1 a week or like 5 a week? Like how many meetings? I guess is more.
Well, probably I'm doing 2.
2 a week.
Yeah, 2 a week. Yeah.
How long does it typically take you to write one of those now?
I suppose that has to do with the complexity of the meeting, but in general, I can knock out an agenda in 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Do you type them or handwrite them?
Type.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then, okay, 1 second.
Yeah, I don't think I really handwrite anything these days. It's funny, but yeah.
Yeah, I know technology's kind of like everything now. Right. So with you're right. I'm trying to think of like how I'm gonna word this. Okay, so you write them relatively quick. What about with? Do you make one for every single meeting? Like, do you have little meetings you won't make any for? Do you only make them for like large meetings with the management teams? Like, what would require you to make an agenda for a meeting rather than a meeting that you wouldn't make an agenda? If that kind of makes sense.
Well, almost every meeting has an agenda.
Do you have like informal meetings? I guess I'm asking that you wouldn't make an agenda for.
I was just gonna say I wouldn't necessarily make an agenda in advance. But if I call, let's say, the sales managers,
Yeah.
and I call them into my office, and I want to know something, I'll typically tell them as I'm kind of writing it down, just to kind of I kind of keep my thoughts, the things that we're going to talk about. So it's not a formal agenda with Roman numerals and letters and those types of things, but I do jot down on my date timer exactly what it is that I want to talk about.
Okay. So kind of just like a bullet point rather than.
Right. So if I'm doing when I won't do an agenda is if I do a one-on-one with with somebody. So if I want to speak just with one person and they come in, I won't do an agenda. But if we discuss something in that meeting that I want to make sure that we agree to, that we're on the same page, then I will send them a follow-up email, say here's what we just talked about, just to make sure that it's clear.
And then when you do make an agenda, though, how many people are in that meeting then?
Typically 3 to 10.
Okay, so they're not huge meetings.
No,
It's just the management team, I'm guessing.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay, so that's like that's all the questions I had, and then the other thing would be if I could just get one email from a cruise line where you're kind of persuasive, one email I don't know if you can with a client. I don't know if that's like invasive, but if you can with a client, and then a copy of an agenda. You don't have to do that right now, and I can text you that to remind you. But
Okay.
that's all I have for our
Okay.
interview. So
Yeah, if you want to do that,